Hey there and welcome back to The Sims 3. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of this attempt to fully complete The Sims 3 World Adventures. Last time we left off after completing a few skill challenges and returning to Chateau, France, and we did so with all 4 of our household Sims, so things got a bit chaotic as they all attempted to complete various quests. The main one, however, was undoubtedly Fabien's search for a secret garden, a search that ultimately ended with him communicating with the afterlife. Now, while the rest of the household is still asleep, a very hungry William Picking is already up on his feet, and after a quick run over to the adventuring board, we pick up this quest right here. We need to prepare 3 single-serving meals of great or better quality. So, into the kitchen we go to make some waffles, however, these will only be used to feed William's appetite for breakfast. The first recipe that we will likely be able to reliably pump out at great quality is only unlocked at cooking skill level 7, and in order to get there we need a bit more practice. And in the absence of skill books, we need to level William's cooking skill the old-fashioned way. As you can see, Yooni has already joined him here in the base camp's kitchen, an eager recipient of a serving of pancakes. Afterwards then, she begins her day with a lengthy jog to her next quest destination, while William has just prepared yet another batch of pancakes, this time for Fabien. Sarnat, meanwhile, has snuck himself into the base camp dorm room, where he can now take pictures of the sleeping adventurers, all in an effort to complete the last few photography skill challenges. William then improves to cooking skill level 7, we'll continue with him in just a second. For now we pick up a quest with Fabien that once again involves Fabien, who we now need to interview about the origins of nectar here in Chateau, as rumor has it that thousands of years ago the beverage was invented right here. Now, while Fabien runs over to the Vieux-Ducas household, we also pick up a quest with Sarnat. For this one, we only need to deliver 1 photo taken here in Chateau. No problem, as he's got multiple in his camera. Fu then tells Fabien of the local nectar history. Sadly, we don't get to learn all of the juicy details, so instead we jump right over to Sarnat, who delivers the photo in question to Hunter Nadeau. And with that quest completed, we now jump back to William, who, in part thanks to some excellent quality limes from Fabien's garden, has made his first great quality key lime pie. Fabien himself meets his quest giver, Paraline Aberou, in the market square, who now directs him towards the library of Landgraab Chateau. Apparently, one of the Landgraab ancestors has already been doing research into this topic, so if we can find his papers, we may learn more. Sarnat then quickly picks up the second photography quest that we have not yet completed here. Starry Male Tag wishes for a picture of local flora, just as Fabien and a still jogging Yooni both arrive at Landgraab Chateau. Both of them now have quests here that will take them to different areas of the building, a building that we soon discover is not quite so easily accessible. So let's loop around the back, where as you can see even more traps await us, but these can be disarmed either the straightforward way or by finding a hidden switch in the bushes. As we then head inside, plenty of doors greet us, but most of them are locked. Following this path right here gets us to the main entrance hall, and we can immediately see scorch marks on the floor, so let's start pulling the statue onto whatever trap is hidden here. With the trap disabled, we jump back to William, who has successfully prepared his 3rd serving of great quality key lime pie, while Sarnat hands over the photo to Starry Male Tag and then teleports himself out of there and into Landgraab Chateau as well. With that, Sarnat has also already reached visa level 1 here in France, and since there is little else for him to do at the moment, he can now join Yooni and Fabien on their adventure through Landgraab Chateau. And we focus on Fabien's part of the adventure first. A plaque behind the locked door into the library here reads that music soothes the savage beast, and consequently turning on the stereo disables 2 electricity traps. As a result, Fabien can now freely access the 2 treasure chests in the room. The first one here only contains ancient coins, our grand total over 12,000 at this point. Chest number 2 then has the Landgraab nectar papers we were hoping for. That is not all that is to find in this area of the chateau though. In the living room on the opposite side of the library, Fabien can pick up a gargoyle statue. With a value of over 3,000 simoleons, this also fulfills a lucrative wish for him, and a second gargoyle can be found in the room adjacent. Quick jump back to William then, who has made it to the shop of Carol Willett. However, after handing over his 3 servings of key lime pie and receiving his reward for it, he also joins his 3 adventuring protégés in the Landgraab Chateau. And with Fabien's part of the adventure taken care of for now, it is time to focus on Yooni's. A door right next to the main entrance leads us upstairs. Eventually we find a door where we can place the keystone that we received last episode, and we do all of this in an effort to find yet another keystone, the one that will allow Yooni entrance to the Dragon Cave in Shang Simla. Now, with the door on the left currently locked, we have no other choice here but to take the corridor on the right. What looks to be another gargoyle statue is actually the unique sigil of this tomb. The library downstairs did not have one and is also not officially marked as a separate tomb. Now, I've also read multiple times that taking the vase on the left here is supposed to trigger some traps. As you can see, that is not the case, and so we can wander right into the bedroom, and in the absence of any items of interest, through the bathroom and into the bedroom on the other side. This now lets us do 3 things. First, it unlocks the bedroom door into the corridor. Second, it lets Yooni pick up a valuable Dropa stone from the nightstand. And third, it reveals to us a hidden door that Yooni can now squeeze herself through. Following several flights of stairs, we end up in the chateau basement. Once more, scorch marks on the ground immediately reveal the presence of traps nearby. A hole in the wall, however, is a quick way to defuse them. Going through the door on the left side at the end of the corridor then officially completes the tomb. Yooni is rewarded with 1500 lifetime happiness points, and not only can she now go and pick up the Dragon Cave keystone from the chest here, for Sanat there is a second generic keystone placed on the table, and for William and Fabien there are plenty of grapes to harvest. If I'm not mistaken, this cellar here actually has every single type of grape available in the game, including the very rare Grenadina Fran and Crenelle Nuala grapes. In the background you can also see Yooni explore the bathroom, but there's nothing of value in there. The exit meanwhile lies beyond the other door in the corridor. Before leaving though, Yooni and Sanat can spar a little more. The day still has a few hours, and we actually want to spend the night here at the chateau. Making his way past our 2 martial artists, Fabien is then the first to leave the cellar. Closely followed by William, he emerges in the bushes outside the chateau. A chateau that actually still has plenty more to offer, but more on that later. For now, we can use the Eyes of Horus to swiftly teleport Fabien back to base camp. Paraline Abaru, his quest giver, is once again found in the nearby market. Unfortunately though, it seems like the nectar papers we just recovered are not so easily deciphered, so up next we'll need to bring them to Federico Spadone, the local relic merchant, and also an avid cryptographer. And thankfully, Federico is quick to produce a deciphering key, which we can now take back to Paraline to complete this first stage of the quest. This takes a little longer than expected though, as our quest giver is already on her way back home. And there we go, we've done our research and completed another one of World Adventure's quests. Without spoiling too much, there is more to this story and we will explore it soon. For now though, Fabien has earned himself some rest and can join William in the tent. Sanat and Yooni meanwhile have finished their sparring lesson and can now also return to the surface, and I think it's time for the 2 of them to get to know each other a bit more intimately. You may have noticed it already, every time the 2 of them have interacted, they are both under the influence of the attractive company moodlet, so both of them like what they see, and Yooni also has the flirty trait. Time to put that on full display, as we now try to turn friends into lovers with a first kiss. And well, the 2 of them are consenting adults, and the tension on this romantic night out in France is palpable. So their next destination is one we already visited a few moments ago, the Chateau Landgraab bedroom. Just a few hours later, a well-rested William Picking teleports himself over to the base camp adventuring board. Once more, he picks up a quest of the culinary kind. Hunter Nadeau is asking for a bottle of nectar. Considering all the nectar we've brought in Fabien's inventory, that's an easy request to fulfill. Following the nectar delivery, however, Hunter also asks for food. This time the quality requirement is thankfully just normal or better, so as William heads back to base camp, we simply make another batch of pancakes. That should already do the trick. Now, maybe you've seen it, the quest also specifically asked for a food to match the nectar. Whether or not your deliveries actually end up matching each other is completely random, however. In this case, we get lucky and Hunter likes the combination, and with that, William Picking is one step closer to reaching visa level 3. Time for Fabien to follow suit with this quest right here, the aforementioned follow-up in the Nectar History questline, and so, as always, we take Fabien to the marketplace, where Special Merchant Paraline shares the details. To investigate the disappearance of a crucial figure in the Nectar history of Chateau, we are now tasked with finding the journal of Landgraab Chateau's former groundskeeper. Now, that journal is supposedly hidden in this shack over here, its door currently inaccessible, a stair at the back of the building, however, isn't. Down here, we unsurprisingly find the keystone to open said door, as well as a worthless relic, and with all of that in hand, we can now head back upstairs and try to gain entrance. Now, despite its small size, this here is actually considered a separate tomb, and so we gain valuable lifetime happiness points for technically completing it, and inside of the treasure chest here then we also find the groundskeeper's journal. Just for the sake of true completion, the other two rooms here have nothing of interest inside of them, and so we can now teleport Fabien back to the market to hand over the journal. Now, of course, things can never be quite so straightforward. The journal is locked, unfortunately, but reportedly, Suffique Laurent, wife of the nectar merchant, has the key, so she'll be our next stop. A quick look then at what our other Sims are doing. Sanad has just finished a morning bath and William has gone down to the river to fish. Just like Egypt, France has a few unique things to catch. Frogs and snails are among the easiest, but there's more. Back to Fabien then, who thankfully does not have to cover much ground to speak to Suffique. However, in exchange for the journal key, he will need to hand over some valuables of his own. We start with 2 pieces of gold here for a new ring, and well, those will not be too difficult to acquire. William has a grand total of 14 in his inventory and can spare a few. The gold is not the only thing that Suffique is after. Her next demand is an amethyst, and well, that too we should have little trouble handing over in just a second. Once more, we are lucky that William has 3 of them, although these were actually collected by Fabien himself before entering the Chateau Landgraab. At this point then, Suffique finally gives us the key to the journal, so let's return to Paraline and finally find out what's actually written inside. Alright, and at this point we pick up the big adventure part of this quest. The journal reveals that a long time ago someone was abducted and dragged to Landgraab Chateau. That someone was Anastasia Nectar, a relative of Jean Nectar, inventor of the famous Jean Les Sims nectar. So, time to return to the chateau and find out more about her disappearance. With a keystone we received from Paraline, we can now open another door, and accompanied by William, Fabien now enters what looks to be a small ballroom. He immediately notices that the statues are arranged as if they were dancing to silent music, so how about we turn on the stereo here? As you can see, that brings up 4 floor switches, so while Yooni and Sanad have begun sparring in the background, let's work on pushing the statues on top of those. This now reveals and deactivates a large chunk of traps, both on this floor and the one above, which means our adventurers can now explore a bit more freely. In the kitchen, Fabien finds a treasure chest, but there's only some dried food inside. William discovers a bathroom that has no loot whatsoever in it, and then in a large dining room there are some ancient coins inside a chest. Moving on, we return to the foyer and take the stairs up. You can see it here too, several traps have already been disabled. William, meanwhile, has made his way to the very top of the chateau, but unfortunately the traps on the way to the treasure chest here are still active. Now, let's see if he can successfully cross, and with unexpected agility he does, and now gains access to some more treasure. To deactivate the traps for the return trip, he can now simply step onto the pressure plate here, and then join Fabien, who has already begun exploring. In a small alcove, he too finds a floor switch. It opens the door at the very end of the corridor here. However, before going through that one, we have 2 other rooms to explore, although neither one contains any loot. William, meanwhile, already goes to investigate the chateau's other wing. His first find, however, is just another small bathroom. Fabien is a bit more successful himself, finding not only a valuable dropper stone, but also another floor switch, this one unlocking a door at the other end of the building. So let's send our 2 adventurers down that path. Fabien disappointingly reveals yet another bathroom, but William has some treasure in his room, a money bag, to help our steadily increasing family funds. Fabien picks up a valuable opal and then stands on yet another pressure plate, this one doing something on the floor above it seems. It would have been nice if it disabled the trap that William just walked into. We will run him a bath now to wash off the electrical singe. Fabien, meanwhile, explores the last few hidden chambers on this floor of the chateau. A rather obvious hidden wall panel reveals a path onwards. A set of stairs behind it leads to the floor above, so as we watch Sarnat in the background running himself a bath too to wash off the sweat from sparring, Fabien can now help himself to a bit more treasure. Then it's time to return to the foyer and take the main stairs up. In the background you can also see that Yooni is also bathing at the moment. Up on this floor then there is not a whole lot left to discover. A lone treasure chest with some worthless relics awaits Fabien in the first room he enters. The second room then completes the chateau crawl. Here we find the treasure chest containing Admiral Landgraab's orders. Now, unfortunately, this too is not considered a separate tomb, so neither Fabien nor William, who has joined him, get wishes fulfilled for fully exploring one. So, as we briefly take note of Yooni and Sarnat once again getting it on, Fabien is left with nothing else to do but to return to Pereline in the market. And there we go, with our young adventurer advancing to visa level 3, another quest chain is complete. From Landgraab's notes we learn that he abducted Anastasia searching for the tomb of Jean Nectar, but crucially he did not find it. So that might be something to search for in the future. For now, Fabien enters the bookstore of Bertrand Vieux-Ducasse and invites Feu Vieux-Ducasse, his wife, over. Sarnat is already standing by to take pictures. Back at the chateau, we swiftly send William into the groundskeeper's shack. This does count as a separate tomb and thus fulfills a wish for him, not to mention that he still needs to visit 3 more tombs here in Champs-les-Sims for a lifetime wish. With Sarnat then, we can snap a picture, not only of Feu and Fabien, but crucially also of her husband Bertrand. Doing so for the first time completes the Lovers at Night photo motif, and bringing the camera up a second time completes Lovers in France, the last missing motif in the travel collection. And with that, we now have 4 photography collections completed with Sarnat, only 1 more until we also complete the Shutternut skill challenge. Both Sarnat and Fabien now teleport themselves back home where Yooni is busy working out, and while Sarnat goes straight to bed, Fabien goes to work on some of the boulders in the garden. As the dust settles, you can see it already, there are stairs hidden beneath. After smashing the second and third boulder, they are a bit more clearly visible. Now, what lies beneath the chateau? Well, I suppose that is a question for another time. For today, we send Fabien off to bed and unfortunately also don't quite make it to 6 straight workout hours for Yooni. Just a few minutes shy of reaching her goal, her hunger becomes too much, and so, following a bite to eat and a shower in the can, we send her off to bed too. William and Sanat are already standing by, well rested and waiting for the next day of adventure. As always, I hope you'll join me for that, and of course, I also hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.